this special achievement, the Governor General Performing Arts Awards, mean to you?
Well, this award is meaningful to me in ways that are different than many of the recipients. If you're Tegan and Sarah, you're getting this award for the extraordinary work you do on stage. In my case, this is much more an award that recognizes all of the people I work with, all of the people at the National Arts Center, the men and women who are on stage, behind the stage, and so it's terrific to accept this award on behalf of all of them, and to some degree on behalf of all the people who have worked at the Governor General's Performing Arts Awards. So I'm here in a kind of representative capacity, and it feels really, really good. But the distinction between my getting this award and Tegan and Sarah is important one. They are wonderful, wonderful artists. I'm really here to support those artists.
How does engagement and excellence in the arts contribute to, in terms of our cultural engagement as who we are as Canadians?
Well, the thing I always talk about in speeches is that our journalists and our artists are Canada's storytellers. They're our troubadours, and they're the ones who tell the Canadian story, the Canadian journey, and they brilliantly chronicle where we've been, where we are, where we're going, what our values are, and they do that better than anyone. They do that better, clearly, than politicians and lawyers, and I think it's the reason that a lot of people love to do that kind of work in the arts. That kind of storytelling is the kind of work that Peter Zosky did, and Mary McLaughlin does, and it's central to who we are as Canadians.
We also, the arts contribute economically to Canada too. How does that work?
Well, the arts have now become a huge, huge industry, and much larger than agriculture, fisheries, the hotel business, and so from time to time, all of us gently point out to politicians that this is a good sector to support. Not only does it do wonderful things for the country from the point of view of storytelling and culture, but it creates jobs, and these are wonderful, wonderful jobs that need to be created.
What was the best advice you ever received in your career?
The best advice, strangely enough, was nonverbal. Not everyone gets great nonverbal advice, but for me, that advice came from a man called Raymond David, who was the Vice President General Manager of Radio-Canada when I was at CBC. And Raymond had a remarkable approach to leadership. Every day he found ways in the morning, in the afternoon, the early evening to connect in very personal terms with his colleagues on every floor of the Radio-Canada building, the Maison in Montreal. And on several times I would go with Raymond just watching him and the way that he brought his leadership style to bear on those colleagues. This wasn't some abstract notion. This wasn't about meetings. This was about the connection he made with individual employees. And I thought, you know, this is absolutely the right way to do that. And so he gave me that advice by watching him, and it very much influenced the kind of leadership approach that I've taken at CBC and at Toronto Life, TV Ontario, and of course at the National Arts Center. It's a very personal kind of leadership style, and an awful lot of that I owe to Raymond David, who incidentally was kind of my hero in broadcasting.
And what's the best advice you would give to young artists now to have an enduring career?
Earlier this week, I spoke to the graduating students at Memorial, and my advice to them, and my advice all the time, is that you should emulate the artists of this country, because the artists of this country are the ones more than anyone else who are going out into the world, competing with the very best. They set audacious, bold goals for themselves. They spend their lives trying to achieve those goals. You know, the cliche used to be reach for the stars. Our artists do that, and they do that every day, and they do that in every part of the world, and that's what young Canadians everywhere should be doing. Use the model of those extraordinary Canadian artists who were out there competing with the best, and go out and do the same thing.